Okay, let's share it today. One I worked on yesterday, another EBO. It's this black one. You can run our Linux on Android. For example, the Ubuntu system. So you have a cell phone when following you out the door. You can also do some lightweight Linux tasks. For example, let's click in. Better after entering. We've reached the endpoint here. We can SHR server. Then look at some simple information related to this server, or start some Node Python Go related. This service is relatively lightweight. Then it can also install this Ubuntu system inside. Well, today is December 31st, 2025. Tomorrow is 2026. Let's talk about it now. This one I use every day. This system of the Raspberry Pi. 0, W, and Z, M, 0 have only 512 trillion memory. Then the success or failure 3B is only 2 GB. On success or failure, 3B 868 GB, it's far enough. And I didn't fill it up. And I recently discovered that, for example, go with Python. Or know these lightweight API forwards. So the memory is probably tens of terabytes, hundreds of terabytes, and we just exit this interface. Any app, when it's active, it's probably hundreds of megabytes. The phone itself only has 4G. This memory of 6 grams. So, for example, it could take up hundreds of megabytes of this memory processor. So let's run some lightweight commands. It could be tens of trillions. Performance is far enough. And this cell phone is the culmination of the world's technology. It also has GPS positioning. There is our Wi-Fi again. There are also mobile data and our screen display, touch. There are all kinds of sensors and related AI edge computing technologies. In comparison to this development version, it has what about this wiring design? There are no waterproof ones. Neither does this shell. That means bad travel. So for example, a stitch like this is probably more annoying or something. Then our mobile phone is completely waterproof and integrated. Okay, with this endpoint, we can do some required commands. Combined with its automated process, then do API forwarding. Do some data storage, move all the business on the Linux to the mobile phone. And it's just an app. Run one of our Linux on the app. For example, I think I put this service of my NT deploy on this. Put the service degree of my location. There's no problem at all on this one. And we can just use this Wi-Fi, where the traffic of the mobile phone has its own penetration. And I often mention Docker on Linux. For example, in this one, our deployment is a Docker-related business. Let's type the font. Like what? We use multiple to deploy some lightweight tasks. I have collected it before. For example, on this speed Pi, I collected 10 developed in construction language. This is the best business in the world. For example, there's an HTTP, just 10 trillion. You can map any static file and that HTML page. And our NTFY notifications only 10 trillion. Then our MQTT message notification. You only need 10 trillion, and an FRP agent just 10 trillion. There are also some local candy certificates and some other related business can be only 10 trillion. So let's say we're on this Linux. I'm more worried about it heating up. If I run a larger business, for example, if it is a 4 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes memory service, it might heat up the phone, even cause his battery to explode. I go back to this interface, but if we put the memory used by him, the control is smaller than other apps. For example, probably less than 500 trillion memory. Control its memory, or 1 gigabyte of memory. I think it's perfectly acceptable. Then we use more REST constructs, or Python and other lightweight required scripts. lightweight this language building service, it only takes about 20 trillion a service, or 100 trillion. Then there is no problem at all for long-term operation. It's similar to running this other Apple. So let's say I want to run now. I deploy an HTML service locally, then open me directly through my browser. I can also use PM2 plus FRP in it, a proxy for the domain name that runs our public network. Penetrate it into the net. Then I use Wi-Fi when there is Wi-Fi. When there is no Wi-Fi, we use the traffic that comes with the mobile phone. He's always connected. So it has always been a case of public network penetration. And then near this geolocation like this, I deploy the client side here. The service is deployed here. Plus my own network. It has low power consumption and low traffic. So it's always online, including my notification. It is always Then I don't have to worry about my broadband being when broadband is disabled. I still have my phone's traffic. When my phone was stopped, I've got broadband. This notification is also online with real name. I don't need my cloud as a service. Always use the cloud as a service. This is a local plan. He kind of said it's better than this development board. The development board is in your own room, own studio case. Then you go to run some stability. It is a service with large memory and big data. Then his rise heats up, or that battery explodes. We don't need batteries. He is stable for a long time. But for us to travel, we need a portable mobile phone to play games. This game can be deployed on your Linux. Inside the business HTML, then we can be this. This GIN file can also be deployed in this, although that means we can use some downloads. Third party. But once you deploy to the service after putting the specifics in this service in it has its own decoding. Bring your own chat with this viewing record. And this is a new piece of music I added yesterday. It's not open source, but I am using. It's also pretty good. Save it locally, like you are now MP3. Like this, we deploy our call up web. This is an ebook reading service. We can deploy it inside. For example, spend a GB, use 1 GB of memory. Then use this book to link it, to download and watch. The book is on the client side. Then this book, that is, you can be on our client side at any time. To download this book, go read so that there is a library. Take it with you. Including our MP3 service can also be deployed in it. Then you can also access it through the web page or app. It's all lightweight service, as far as I can think now. For example, we deploy our Calibre web. This is an ebook service. We deploy inside. Then mine has an external. This game emulator. I also deployed it inside, then put some game missions in it. Then I can directly add the app externally. Case to use. Well, including this music service. That is, we also deploy a music service. The music library is inside, then when not in use. It's basically memory. But when using this, we can take down the music service and use it. If you add an internet penetration, then yours is that everyone is under the same Wi-Fi. Everyone can connect to this resource on the internet. Then when you go out, you can also share this resource, but only on the periphery of the phone. So whether it's the network or our GPS, can deploy this service on Linux. Then for me, ebooks, novels, music, games, especially pure file management and HTML. I wrote some developed software myself. I will deploy it directly on it. If he runs it 24 hours a day, maybe 100 trillion or tens of trillions. This memory uses enough money to deploy on you. Then all other apps can connect to this Linux server level to get the apps we deserve. A song is about, say, 10 trillion. An ebook is about 10 trillion. Then some simple games, probably about 10 trillion. This puts 100 ebooks, 100 songs, and 100 games. Then start using this Linux service. Then on our phone, we have implemented the deployment of our server. We also implement our client's application, and it's always netted. There's always a network. Then its screen is also touchable. More visual than these development boards. The development board still needs to pick up our HD, this data cable of HD, then use the computer keyboard. but it doesn't use a keyboard at all. So that's it for today's sharing. Therefore, everyone must remember this to get a Linux endpoint on your Android. Windows system can be installed, then Google's Android 16 native support for this content. So old phones use it, new phone with Google's own Linux. So that's it for today's sharing.